Welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3, episode 63. Alright, so we are halfway through arcade mode now, as of which we have cleared 3 out of the 6 areas and already 18 out of the 34 tracks are done, so we're basically halfway through arcade mode now. And let's move onwards to Area D, where obviously we are going to be racing on hard difficulty, because, well, most of the races in arcade mode up to this point have been very easy. And let's get through our Area D tracks, which are Tokyo Reverse, Grand Valley Reverse, Rome Reverse, Tahiti Circuit Reverse, Tahiti Maze, and Apricot Hill. So let's head to our first circuit, which is Tokyo Reverse. And as you would have expected, because of how big the circuit is, I'm going to start this off with a race car. And the car I'm going to use as well, this, because this is the only Super GT Honda NSX I have not driven so far. I've driven the other two, obviously, as you may know. I have the Roybrig NSX in my garage, and so this is the car I'm going to use, the Honda Castro Mugen NSX, for our first race. And why? Because I want to. Also because it will make me complete with something. So, first race of Area D, and it takes place in Tokyo, where, as I suspected, I have a twin sibling in this race, which is basically what I've been having with basically all of the Class S races up to this point. I've always apparently had a twin sibling for these races, and furthermore in this one we have a Jaguar competing in this event, which is actually pretty reasonable. And oh fuck me, the Vauxhall got really aggressive there. He literally had me boxed in before I pulled off the pass, and everyone is still colliding with one another. And also, I noticed we have a Jaguar XJ220 in this race, or in other words, the XJ220 race car. And these AI at the moment are proving why exactly they have more competence around this circuit than I do, at least on the reverse circuit. They have the additional confidence that I do. So, heading into the final section of the lap now, as we are just 2 corners away from completing the lap, and almost touched the inside guardrail, and now less than a second behind the Jag. The Supra has now extended himself away from the rest of the pack, and I am closing in on the Jag. He is trying to shut the door on me, but there is enough space for me to get by. Gap is now less than a tenth. I'm trying to see if I can look for an opening, also trying to keep it as clean as possible. I slot down the inside as we head through the hairpin, and officially I am now up into the first position. So 8 tenths now the margin to the Jag, as of which I have now taken the lead as early as the start of the second lap, and officially, oh damn it, I touched the inside wall. Doesn't matter too much because obviously I am still the leader. So we are now approaching the end of the lap once again. Using the curbs as much as I can. I missed the inside curbs, and it now looks like I'm going to do what I usually do once I take the lead, and that is pretty much take the lead and then try to see if I can defend it as much as possible, which is basically what I usually do. Anyways, lap 3 here in arcade mode, and the Supra is now challenging the Jag for, for the second position. I am still leading this thing at the moment. It is mostly comprised of Super GT and DTM cars in this race, and that's all. Fortunately, however, I am of course managing to hold on to a steady lead at the moment, and gap is now 1.2 seconds, so the Supra is definitely closing in. This race is not over by any means at the present time, as of which obviously I did mention before, the AI do seem to get around the reverse course better than they get around the forward course, or the normal course I should say. At the very least, I know very well that I don't have to go to test course again, because obviously that was the one course I hated to do in arcade mode, and fortunately, since I have now got that course out of the way, let's now carry on with the race, where I now set a new fastest lap by pretty much a second, and the gap is now 1.8 seconds. Because I seem to be stronger in the final sector than the AI are proving to be. Even though for the first two sectors the AI are proving, of course, to be stronger than me, is what me thinks. So we're pretty much evenly matched around this circuit, me-thinks. The Toyota is now closing in again, probably because he has the benefits of being quick in the early parts of the lap, but I have the benefits in being quicker for the latter parts of the lap. So this is definitely a close race at the present time. We still have one lap to go following this one, and then once we have completed the final lap, we should be able to move onwards with arcade mode. But oddly enough, the arcade mode races, since I cleared Route 5, they've definitely been getting more and more challenging, because the AI actually appear to have some competence in these most recent tracks of arcade mode. Anyways, final lap, and I'm hoping that this will also be a victory lap, hopefully, as I now head through this complex sequence of corners now for the fifth and final time here in this race. And I really had to be bold to get it done there. Really had an excellent sequence of corners through there. They were definitely sharp corners, and I really had the speed up through those corners, so I might be able to beat my PB here if I can keep it clean for the rest of the lap. And just avoided touching the outside guardrail, at least through that corner. I'm definitely not taking my foot off the throttle as I'm using the curbs. And officially heading through the penultimate corner now here at Tokyo Reverse, and sliding a little bit wide there on the corner exit, but this race is still not over by any means, as I now get a good exit off the final corner, and I officially head down the front stretch. And is this going to be a new PB? Yes, it is, by 1.6 seconds. And and in the end of that I went by just under 2.2 seconds. So the Supra took second place, then it was my twin sibling in third, followed by the Astra in fourth, then it was the CLK in fifth, and then at the back, after starting on the pole, it was the XJ220. He must have really fallen back in the later stages of that race, and oh, correction, he fell to the back after starting second. It was the Astra that sat on the pole. Anyways, I'm now going to save this replay. Because I can. Also because I don't have a replay saved of a race car yet. Yeah, whatever. Anyways, moving on, as we have one race down and still 5 to go. And then I think after Area D it drops down to 5 tracks, as far as I know. So let's head over to Grand Valley Speedway, reverse, and where for this I'm going to use a Class A car, and by that of course I think the car I want to use the most is the Corvette, so that's exactly what I'm going to do. And for the colour, well, yeah, let's use the Singing Silver. I want to use the Corvette, so let's do that. We are using the Corvette for Grand Valley reverse because I want to challenge myself. And we have a pretty competitive field in this race. And off to a reasonable start here at Grand Valley, as of which I'm already manoeuvring my way through the field. I have another Corvette. We have another Corvette in this field as well, even though obviously he is not a twin sibling because he is yellow, I am silver. And I ran just a little bit wide there through the hairpin, and also, oh shit, got a little snap of oversteer there as we are heading through the corner now. And also making a little contact there with the outside wall, but officially I do ultimately manage to take the lead. And I was running a little bit wide there through the corner, but fortunately holding on to the lead by less than a second over the Lotus Esprit, who is second. Then it is my fellow Corvette who runs in third, whilst he is battling with the TVR Griffith for the third position. So perhaps some fender rubbing being exchanged there for the final slot in the top 3. As we now head through the hairpin, and the Griffith runs very wide through there. And it looks like the AI are not proving to be as exceptional. Through the latter parts of the lap. Although fortunately, however, I of course am doing very well at the moment. Oh crap. Yep, okay, I really fucked up on the corner entry there. But again, it doesn't matter too much because I already have a margin to the Esprit, and as of which I'm pretty certain the Corvette is now trying his hardest to take the second position away from the Esprit at the moment, even though he has also got to contend of course with the Griffith. And As for the Elise at the moment, I think he is running in what looks like 5th position, and whoever is at the back of the pack I really don't know. But officially, the Corvette Z06 C4 at the moment is running in the leading position, along with the Esprit in 2nd, and the Corvette is in 3rd. So heading down to the first hairpin on the reverse course, and it's looking more or less like one of those races where I am probably going to lead the pack pretty much the rest of the way. Because the AI don't appear to have as much competence on the reverse circuit as they do the normal circuit. And as for me at the moment, I'm holding on to a nice and steady lead, from what I can tell here. So 2 laps down and still 3 to go. This time shifting down to 3rd gear, so I do not repeat the mistake I made on the previous lap, and managing to cope pretty well at the moment. And I think it's fair to say the margins between myself and the AI at the present time have pretty much stabilised. Although there is still a pretty close battle going on for 2nd position among the contenders, as of which the positions are still pretty much unchanged, but they're definitely tailgating one another at the present time. Meanwhile for me, I am only just holding on to the 1st position. Alright, so coming up to the end of the 3rd lap now, as the TVR Griffith again continues to run pretty much as wide as hell on the exit of the hairpin, which is probably the main reason why he's not managing to get past the fellow Corvettes in this race. And it always seems like whenever I'm doing these races, I always appear to have a twin sibling in the field who is more or less wanting to do the same thing I'm doing. Anyways, still 2 laps to go, and I'm keeping it in 4th gear so I do not run wide, and shifting down into 3rd gear on the exit as we now head through this little S-turn here, which I think is meant to be a chicane, and heading past the map of Grand Valley, which I have just seen there, and the Esprit is starting to close in once again, but fortunately I am able to keep a steady margin as we go round the rest of the lap, hoping of course to not fucking bottle this in a big way. As of which I'm pretty certain the Esprit Sport probably does have a V8 engine like all the others did at that time, and fortunately, however, my domination at the present time is continuing. as we are now moving onwards to the end of the lap and very much coming up to the final lap of this race. As we head through this final hairpin turn here, and overall we now have just one more lap to go, as we are coming across the start finish line to beginning the final lap here at Gran Valley Reverse. It looks like the margins have pretty much stabilised from what I can work out, and it's looking more or less likely for me to probably emerge as the winner, as I also get a snap of oversteer for good measure, as we now head through the tunnel once again for the final time, at least the first tunnel I should probably say, and going across the bridge through these two sharp corners. I think those are meant to be hairpin turns, or vaguely hairpin turns I should say, and also noticed another map of Grand Valley there whilst I'm driving the reverse course and heading through what is, I assume, another two hairpin turns. And heading down the hill once again as I hit the rev limiter, and it looks as though a win probably will be mine, as of which I have noticed the Griffith has basically run wide at that hairpin pretty much every lap, and yet somehow he has still managed to hold on to the 4th position without being overtaken. It looks like positions have pretty much stabilised up to this point, and it appears as though I am once again going to emerge victorious in arcade mode to continuing my perfect winning streak, because apparently I have one in arcade mode. So won by 4.7 seconds over the Esprit. Then it was the TVR who managed to overtake the Corvette. The Elise finished in 5th, and then at the back it was the Tommy Kyra ZZS. So pretty close race overall among the AI, but obviously for most of that race I was pretty much unchallenged for the lead. So anyways, next, as we are going to Rome Reverse, and obviously, as you would expect, I am of course going to use a Class B car for this event, because I want to. Are there any cars in here I haven't driven? I could drive the Subaru Legacy. I could also drive the S2000. Actually, yeah, let's drive the S2000, just because I want to. And yeah, sure, why not? Let's use the S2K for Rome Reverse, just because I want to. So, third race in arcade mode, and it takes place at Rome Reverse. And in this field we have a Nissan Silvia along with a Clio, a Mazda RX-7 FD, a Nissan Silvia S14, and at the front we have what I think is meant to be a Subaru Legacy wagon for this race. So diving down the inside and making contact with the outside wall, also getting a nudge there from the Legacy for additionally good measure. And officially at the moment I am managing to hold on to the lead, and yo, look at the Clio coming straight to the front. Let's fucking go. He's actually trying to see if he can take the lead. So he's definitely a possible threat for this race from what I can make out. He must have really sliced his way through the field once the shuffling started happening. Meanwhile, at the moment I'm looking pretty comfortable in the lead as far as it stands. I'm also pretty certain I don't need to push it too hard up to this point, because I probably will end up winning the race at the end of the day anyway. Which is basically what the case has remained to be throughout arcade mode, as of which I have not lost a race in arcade mode yet. As of which I do have a perfect winning streak in arcade mode at the moment, which is very much the comparison to my win record in simulation mode, because surprisingly in this I have managed to ultimately win every race so far, and unless I have any major slip-ups at this point, it looks like the perfect win record is probably going to continue, because I'm pretty sure the dirt tracks probably will be a guaranteed win. As of which, for the road courses, dependent on how competent the AI are at getting around these circuits, that probably remains to be seen. Meanwhile, at the moment I'm doing an exceptional job, because I am holding on to the lead as it stands for the present time. And I did manage to make the corner going flat out, as 2 laps are now completed and still 3 remain for my Honda S2000. The reason why I chose this car is simply because obviously I have not driven this car yet, and technically, in some cases, this is ultimately the first time that I have officially driven this car on the whole, and now it looks as though I may be able to hold on for the race win. Alright, so still managing to hold on to a slim lead over the Clio, as of which the beneficiaries of the AI are proving, of course, to be the case again here at Rome Reverse, because they do have competence over officially managing to get around this circuit. And inevitably I was going to touch the outside wall, and don't think that was a major slip up. But obviously, this race at the moment is proving to be pretty close between myself and the Renault Clio, because officially we've not actually exchanged positions that much, but again, I'm still pretty certain in saying he is managing to stay within 2.5 seconds of me, so he is managing to keep up with me in some instances, because rubber banding on certain circuits is stronger than it is around other circuits. As we head through this sequence of Coliseum corners once again, or at least corners surrounding the Coliseum, and driving by spectators. Or at least I should probably say in many cases pre-COVID spectators. Because there is crowding up there on the grandstands. Anyways, final lap. As we go one more time around Rome reverse. And I am hopeful in saying that this will be the money lap. In other words, the victory lap. So 3.4 seconds now the margin to the Clio. As of which, at the moment, I am still holding on to what is looking more or less like a comfortable lead up to this point. We still have probably 4 corners left. Following this one as we head through the second of the 2 left-handers this time, because it's the reverse circuit. And heading past the Coliseum, as we officially head through the original sequence of Coliseum corners and down the front stretch we go, passing pit entry. The clean streak of wins in arcade mode continues. And I also set a new best lap time by a couple of thousandths to cap it all off. So, in the end, I won that event by 2.8 seconds over the Clio, who did actually run competitively here. Then it was the Silvia in third, followed by the 200 SX, to my correction. Then it was the RX-7 FC in 5th, and then at the back it was the Legacy Wagon. Anyways, next. As we are going to Tahiti Circuit reverse. And let's have a think about this. What cars have I not driven yet? Let's see. Think. I don't have the Celica in here, so pretty sure I haven't driven either of the Fords. I'm also pretty certain I haven't driven the Delta or the Evo 6. I think the car I'm going to drive is... I think I'll drive the Evo 6. Yeah, let's go for the Evo 6. Just because this is the reverse circuit. something as well. I want to see if I can keep this interesting. Because I don't think I recall myself driving the Evo 6 around a circuit before. I mean, I do have one in my garage, but obviously I've not driven that one yet, from what I can work out. And I was pretty certain that overall this was probably one of very few rally cars I had not driven in arcade mode as of this moment until now. And officially, I am managing to do very well at the moment, as I am heading over these jumps and... oh shit! I forgot how high the jump is on that one. Anyways, through Sector 2 we go, as we are heading down through the hairpin turn, right before these two sharp corners here. And there is a pattern here or something. As we now head through the final corner, sliding our way through the final corner, and as I expected, I am thoroughly dominating this thing at the moment. Anyways, back onto the dirt once again from the asphalt, and the gap already at the end of the first lap is 11 seconds, so I think that's perfectly hypothesized how terrible the rest of this race will probably go for the Citroen, because obviously rubber banding on the rally tracks not proving to be very strong at the moment, because obviously if there wasn't any rubber banding on these circuits then there wouldn't be any rubber banding at all. And once again getting airborne on both of those jumps. Fortunately, not managing to hit the wall whilst the front end is higher than the rear end. And ultimately, 16.5 seconds now, the margin to the Citroen Zara. There is no doubt in saying that will inevitably increase from what I can make out, and fortunately keeping it all nice and clean, also managing to avoid slapping the wall, as it looks like I almost got a tank slapper there. Before the first left-hander, because this is the reverse course, and officially at the moment it looks like, regardless of what happens from here, unless I make a major mistake, it's probably looking more or less evident that I will probably win this race with relative ease, as I'm heading over these jumps once again and just managing to avoid hitting the stone brick wall, and officially I think I can also hear a helicopter outside my house somewhere, but at the moment I am managing to hold on, of course, to a rather fat lead, if I can put it that way, because the margin is now a fat 25-second margin to the Citroen, and as I would have expected, the margin is of course going to increase as we now move on to the final lap here at the Tahiti circuit. And I might actually have to stop recording to see how far back the Citroen is in comparison to me and the Evo 6. Because I'm pretty sure this is a car I've not driven yet. Unless I drove this thing around Swiss Alps. I don't think I did, but obviously this is of course the first time I think I've driven the Evo 6, even though I could have driven it before, but as far as I know, I don't think I drove this thing before this event, if I remember correctly. And this time I actually managed to stay right side up for the jump this time. Pretty much neither the front nor the rear end stepping out of alignment, and officially being through these final sequence of corners, as of which we now have just one corner remaining, and it's also a slightly banked corner, judging by the altitude of the corner, but I officially survive, and I come across the line to win once again, and narrowly miss out on besting my lap time. And so, let's wait for the Citroen Zara to now finish, as which I'm going to pause recording temporarily. Come on. Finally. 37.85 seconds at the end of that race. That is literally how slow he was in comparison to me around this course. Son of a bitch. That is decimation, that is. Anyways. 4 tracks are down, and still 2 remain. So, let's now head over to our other rally track in Area D, which is Tahiti Maze. And I know exactly which car it is I'm going to use. The car I'm going to use around Tahiti Maze is... I think I'm going to use the Ford Escort, because this is a rally car I know for sure I've not driven yet. And also because ultimately I like to spice things up a bit, if you can put it that way. But officially, I thought it was necessary for me to use the Escort, and that's all. And the Subaru trying to pull off a pass on the inside, obviously, they must have known it was not going to work, but at the moment, this race certainly proving to be closer than Tahiti Maze was, even though I'm pretty certain it appears to be inevitable, to say the least, in knowing that I probably will extend my lead unless rubber banding is stronger around Tahiti Maze than it is the Tahiti circuit. But at the moment, I've opened myself up to a 1.7 second cushion over the Impreza prototype, and I'm pretty certain that margin probably will increase, as which the margin as we head up to the 4 consecutive hairpins, or in other words the snake corners, if you can call them that, to 3.4 seconds. Even though I'm pretty certain my lead has probably gone down now because I fucked up through the first corner. Anyways. And through the fourth hairpin we go. It's basically 4 consecutive hairpins through there, even though I should probably say it's 5 consecutive hairpins if you would account for this one on the asphalt. Before the sudden change in direction, and already I am opening myself up to a reasonable lead. As of which the gap at the end of lap 1 has now extended itself to 4.2 seconds. So domination, as I expected, playing a part in this, because, yeah. So, not really having to push too hard at the moment, more or less just getting myself into a steady rhythm where I can stay ahead. Obviously, not dominating this race as much as I was dominating Tahiti Circuit, because the gap at the end of the first lap here at Tahiti Maze was only 5 seconds, whereas at Tahiti Circuit it was 11 seconds at the end of the first lap. So this race definitely proving to be closer than Tahiti Circuit was, because of how slow the Citroen was in that race, and already it looks like I am starting to eke out a reasonable margin over the Impreza as we now head up, of course, through into the tarmac section and heading past the church, as of which I think that's a church, and heading now through this corner, keeping a nice tight apex as we are now heading up to the line once again and beating our best lap time by over 5.2 seconds, and officially margins are gradually increasing. My gratitude for the rally tracks being easy, at least easy for the player, because that is how fucking simple it's been. Anyways, third lap, and that's all. So the gap is now 11 seconds to the Impreza prototype through the first section of the lap. I am pretty certain the margin will continue to increase as it has done as we are heading uphill through sector 2. And officially we are heading now through these hairpin turns as I continue to do so successfully, since I have now settled myself into a rhythm where I can basically continue to extend my lead because of how easy the rally tracks in arcade mode have been up to this point, and heading down the front stretch into the first left-hander here at Tahiti Maze between these very tight hairpin turns, as of which I believe there are 3 consecutive hairpins here. Which I am managing to surpass successfully at the present time, as we now head down, of course. Through to this pairing of hairpins, of which there are quite a few hairpin turns here at Tahiti Maze, I might add, or mostly comprised of snaking hairpins. And, oh yeah, I also noticed this is the last lap of Tahiti Maze. So, one more time around Tahiti Maze in the Ford Escort. Margin is now 18.6 seconds, even though I'm pretty certain that margin will continue to increase. So just got about 2 more corners left to negotiate, as of which we have this hairpin and just this drop to contend with. Sliding a little bit there on the dirt, but officially I win again. And once I officially took the lead away from the Impreza, it looked like I was just going to dominate, and well, I'm going to leave this thing on record because obviously I know for sure I did not dominate this event as much as I dominated Tahiti Circuit Reverse, and the margin at the end, 21.2 seconds. So a difference of about probably 16.6 seconds quicker than the Citroen Zara was at Tahiti Circuit in this section. Anyways, 5 tracks are down and we still have 1 left, which is Apricot Hill. And let's check to be sure. Yep. Just got 1 track left, and that is Apricot Hill. Well, as you would expect, I am of course going to use a race car. Because I want to. Let's see. So, which one of these things have I not driven yet? I've got the Gillet Vertigo here. Also thinking about using the Viper. Want to use the Corvette, but not until later. Yeah, know what? Let's be completely different and use the Gillet Vertigo. Haha! I dare to be different. Alright, so it's does not look like the Vertigo strategy for Apricot Hill is going to work out. But boy did I try. Boy did I fucking try to make this work. But in the end, it did not pay off. So, I'm not going to use the Vertigo this time. I'm going to switch to a car that might make this simpler. And by that, I'm going to switch to the Viper, to hopefully making this one simpler than it was with the Gillet. And the prototypes are this one again. Fuck. Though I'm still hoping that I will have a stronger shot of victory this time, since I am using a more powerful car. Hopefully there is a stronger shot of victory this time. And we've got a pretty reasonable field here. And yep, I can definitely witness the difference between this and the Vertigo. Because this car is a lot more powerful than the Vertigo, I can tell. This thing has got a lot more speed than the Vertigo has, and I might be able to actually win the race with this thing. And I've actually got some speed down the straight, and diving down the inside of both the Nissan and the Mazda, obviously all the prototypes in this game are Japanese, and the Mazda overtakes me on pure pace, as I would have expected him to do, with that wank-cool rotary powered engine, and as of which, surprisingly, neither of them are leading this thing at the moment. As of which, the leader at the moment is the Pagani Zonda. And well, the reason why I switched over to the Viper as well, because I thought I could make the Gillet Vertigo strategy work for this circuit, but unfortunately, however, it did not pay off in the end, because even though I was literally tantalisingly close to winning on my second attempt, unfortunately, in the end I had to change my mind to a quicker car. So that's exactly where I switched to the Viper, basically. Basically, and rhetorically speaking, or I should probably say, ironically speaking. But at the moment, among the top 4 cars in this race, we are definitely competing closely for the race win. As of which, I am actually leading the race this time, in comparison to the Vertigo, because the prototypes were just literally stomping me to the floor on straight line speed, and they are coming back again, and here goes the Mazda down the front stretch, although he does not manage to hold on to the lead as I regain it. He suddenly swaps positions as we get through to the corner exit, and I am actually having to work for this one, so this is probably the most exciting race I have probably witnessed in arcade mode so far. Quite possibly as exciting as Route 5 was. And I do mean the normal Route 5 course, because, well, that was a very close race, and the Zonda has now taken the lead away from me, but I'm hoping that I will manage to fight back on pure speed, as I'm literally oversteering my way through the corners, or in other words, literally drifting my way through the corner, I should say, as I do manage to get back, of course, into the lead and trying to defend the position, and we are all getting very fucking sketchy at the moment. As of which the R390 darts himself round the outside on the front stretch to now taking the second position, and all I have to do now is fend off from these guys, and then maybe, and I am hypothesizing this, and maybe I might be able to officially win this race on my third attempt, because I'm really having to work for this one. Come on, do not dive bomb me, do not dive bomb me. Okay. They took the sensible choice and stayed behind me. Okay. And as I expected, the straight line speed deficit very much becoming my handicap, and still managing to hold on to a narrow lead ahead of both the Nissan, the Mazda, and the Pagani, who has now fallen back to the 4th position, as we now head onwards to the final lap, and I do improve on my best lap time for by basically 1.5 seconds, and through the first corner we go, pretty much trying to stabilise that margin and hold on to the narrow lead that I have now built up to, as which the lead is a second at the moment. I am sure that interval will be shattered as we head down this back stretch before the hairpin. I am holding on to the lead. The R390 gave me a little push there through the hairpin, but fortunately I did of course manage to hold on to the lead. He tries to look for an opening. I shut the door on him as we head through the chicane, and it looks as though I am just going to manage to hold on for the race win. And so, for probably the umpteenth time now, the third time once again is proving the charm. By less than a second as the Mazda overtakes the R390 for second position down the backstretch. Then it was the Nissan R390 in third, followed by the Pagani Zonda in fourth, then it was the Vertigo fifth, and then at the back it was the Pinos Esperante. Thank God. That was an unbelievable finish. Still, I did not think on my third attempt I was going to win that. But officially, just gonna check and see if that's every track in Area D. Yes it is, and next time we will be doing Area E. So let's move onwards to our progress. And we are now officially 64.6% complete at the end of Area D, and next time we shall be doing Area E. So, stay tuned for more of Gran Turismo 3.